Good morning. It is Tuesday, August 30th. I'm Shane Seeley and this is the CBC Morning Report. Leading our news this morning, there is fresh hope schools can return to normal come mid-September with the recent ease in COVID-19 protocols and with vaccines now available for a wider range of students. The National Council of Parent-Teacher Associations has been reacting to the news regarding the end to social distancing mandates. NCPTA General Secretary Nicole Brathwaite spoke exclusively to the Morning Report. She considers the move a step in the right direction.
There is some concern among parents about, the length of time that children would be having to wear masks and so on. That is still a concern, but now we have that the social distancing is no longer going to be in place. I'm sure that that is going to be a welcome avenue for the kids to be having more social interaction, similar to what they would have had before COVID, without having to be so far away from their classmates and so on.
In relation to vaccines for students under 12 years old, the NCPTA the NCPTA General Secretary expects mixed reaction and some hesitation from parents yet again, but she believes it will be welcomed if there is some guarantee that school will return to full-face instruction. Ms. Brathwaite says there's need for a renewed public awareness push by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Chief Medical Officer, and local pediatricians.
I am thinking that they will welcome this opportunity to add a layer of protection to their children going back into school, especially if it means that they would be back in, it would lean towards more of the children being back in fully and not having to go 2 days here, 3 days there, and so on. So I am thinking that we will have to really survey our parents and see what their feelings are presently. But I'm thinking that persons will welcome the layer of protection, especially if it would get the children back into school fully, which is what they're very, very concerned about.
That's the NCPTA General Secretary Nicole Brathwaite speaking exclusively to the Morning Report about schools returning to some sense of normalcy come mid-September. Coming up here on the Morning Report, further updates on the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Directive number 12 of the emergency COVID-19 protocols will take effect from tomorrow. Notably absent is the social distancing requirement of 3 feet, which was in the August 13th directive. That one stated that business places should comply with the physical distancing protocols, restrict the number of persons within and outside businesses, and ensure that a physical distance of at least 3 feet is maintained between persons. It also said they should ensure individuals do not assemble other than for the transacting of business. However, the new directive released yesterday and taken effect tomorrow says any member of the police service or unit may enter any business or organization during working hours to ensure that the business, establishment or organization is in compliance with this directive, and for that purpose may ask questions of the owner, operator, employees or patrons of the business, establishment or organization. 63 people were diagnosed with COVID-19 on Sunday, August 28th. They were among the 288 tests conducted by laboratories across the island. The cases comprised 8 people under the age of 18 and 55 who were 18 years and older. There were 81 people in isolation facilities, while 1,538 people were in home isolation. As at August 28th, there have been 539 deaths as a result of COVID-19. A team of investigators from the International Atomic Energy Agency, the United Nations nuclear watchdog, will soon gain long-sought access to the Russian-occupied the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in Ukraine. Let's take a look at what is happening there.
These are iodine pills meant to protect the thyroid gland in case of a nuclear disaster. They're being distributed around the Zaporizhzhia region in Ukraine, close to Europe's largest nuclear power plant.
Since our district is located within 50 kilometres reach from the nuclear power plant, in the area of possible radiation exposure, we're distributing iodine tablets to people, mainly those under 40.
It's happening as the UN nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is about to inspect the Zaporizhzhia power plant. The facility is occupied by Russia, and the fighting nearby has intensified in the past few days. The IAEA team is due to assess any damage from the recent shelling, evaluate the conditions in which staff are working, and determine the functionality of safety and security systems. People here at Ukraine's state nuclear power company are waiting anxiously for the visit of the IAEA. They're not only waiting to get news of what's happening inside the plant, but they're also hoping they'll be able to convince Russia to withdraw from the area. Russia says it is Ukraine that's shelling the area in an attempt to retake control of the plant. But the head of Ukraine's nuclear company told Al Jazeera this is not the case.
They broke all the rules which exist in nuclear safety, radiation safety, and physical safety of civilian nuclear objects. They broke everything. And if normal mission is coming there, a normal expert will go and see all this evidence. The only result from this mission should be just get away from here.
There's also concern about the safety of Ukrainian technicians working inside the plant.
About 200 people right now were captured by Russians and actually treated badly in these facilities. They actually captured before in the town of Energodar and created prison. They're imprisoned from that. And we do not know what happened with some people even. For we do not know anything about them for 3 months, for example, already.
For now, the fighting goes on in the southern and eastern Ukraine, as forces from the two sides try to gain control of vital cities across the front line. But at the moment, all eyes are on the IAEA visit and what it can achieve.
9 minutes after 6 on this beautiful Tuesday morning, we had some early morning showers. Let's go over to Pearson now to hear what he's looking at on today's edition of Mornin Barbados. Pearson, over to you.
Thank you, Shane. Indeed, it's a beautiful Tuesday. Coming up today, we'll continue our look through entrepreneurship and the support of the Barbados Trust Funds Limited. 2 entrepreneurs will join us to talk about their journey and their benefits from that support as well. We'll be joined this morning too by the Chief Executive Officer of Export Barbados BIDC and the Executive Director of the International Trade Center as they help us take a further look at the upcoming Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, which starts on Thursday. And not every sneeze is necessarily the cold or the flu. Do you know the difference between the cold and the flu? Is there any difference whatsoever? When we meet with our pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood, she'll share with us how we can identify the differences and the possible treatments for either. So just a little bit of what you can expect when you join me at 6:30 for Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Shane.
Yeah, when will we stop running away when someone sneezes or attempts to sneeze in these COVID-19 pandemic times? Thank you, Pearson. See you in a few minutes' time. Coming up here on the Morning Report, we have more news coming your way. The island's youth have been encouraged to continue making a contribution to the agriculture sector through organizations like the 4-H Foundation. The call came from the Chief Agricultural Officer, Keely Holder, as she addressed a renaming ceremony for the Barbados 4-H Foundation's Catering and Resource Center at the Foundation's Crumpton Street headquarters. The center has now been renamed in honor of dedicated former member Annette Blackman, who died last December. Her family, including her husband, Hamilton Blackman, joined in the ceremony and assisted with the unveiling. In her remarks, Ms. Holder recalled her interaction with Mrs. Blackman years ago.
Annette Blackman, who I knew, not from 4-H, but knew as a student at Queen's College, going to school with her daughter, one of my classmates, was always a woman who was very loving and kind, and you could just see it just from spending a few moments with her. So when I hear all that Mrs. Blackman has done for the 4-H movement, I understand why the 4-H movement has continued to thrive over the years, because of that kind of love from a person who understood the importance of helping kids not only connect to nature, but helping us to understand the importance of connecting that nature to learning.
And chairman of the 4-H Foundation, Alvin Romeo, fondly remembered Mrs. Blackman's invaluable contribution to the organization. He says her relationship with the foundation dates back to the 1960s.
Her family called her Grand. So Grand dedicated many hours ensuring the success of the catering center through the assistance with the 4-Hers, especially at AgroFest and BMEX. She received a 4-H Meritorious Service Award in 2011 and 2017 for her exceptional contribution to the organization. We indeed are extremely proud to have such an awesome leader within this organization, and today we salute her for her tremendous work that she has done within this organization.
AnimeCon is back after restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Color, comic, and pop culture reigned as fans descended on the Harrison College ground for an afternoon of pageantry. Trevor Thorpe reports.
Officials have called it the best experience in the world as AnimeCon returned after a 2-year layoff due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Comic and movie characters, along with exhibitors, brought the Harrison College campus to life with creativity and nostalgia. Omar Kennedy is the co-founder of the event.
We're back, we're really happy. The crowd is here, we're very, very happy. It's a little hot, but better that than the rain. But we're having a great time.
According to the organizer, a number of new initiatives had to be put in place given the COVID-19 restrictions.
AnimeCon takes a year of planning, so we were planning in a COVID environment, so we decided our usual location, because of the restrictions at the time, would not be the feasible location to go to. So we decided to have a hybrid event. So we want to be good corporate citizens, and we decided to have a hybrid indoor and outdoor event so that persons can come out and enjoy themselves. And we know we're in a COVID environment, so they would not feel as restricted. They can be a little bit easier walking around in the outdoors. Harrison College is a fantastic campus. You can't go wrong.
Going forward, the AnimeCon official says an explosion of activity is coming in a number of areas for which guidelines have already been laid out.
AnimeCon next year is already in the plans. We have a 5-year event planned, which would be the 5 major AnimeCon events, which will be hosted at the end of every summer. And then we're going to have a series of monthly events around the theme called the Terra Nautica Chronicles. Terra meaning land, Nautica meaning water. So we're having an entire 5-year event surrounding that theme.
The staging of AnimeCon was seen by exhibitors and fans as another example of life returning to normal as people learn to live with the COVID-19 pandemic. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
Anglicans from across the island joined family and friends of the late Reverend Canon Ivan Harwood yesterday at the Christchurch Parish Church to celebrate his life and his service. Lisa Broom reports.
There were many emotional moments at the Christchurch Parish Church this afternoon during the service of thanksgiving for the life of a man described as a strong leader who had a humble way of listening, a passion for people, and the ability to help every church with which he was associated to flourish. That's how those who spoke remember the many facets of Reverend Canon Ivan Harwood and the ways in which he touched their lives in the span of a near 30-year career in the pulpit. In his sermon, the Reverend Canon Dr. Stephen Fields told the church his mentor left a legacy in the church in Barbados and across the Caribbean.
Ivan's priestly ministry may be used as a bar by which we priests and leaders are measured. He was a caring pastor, a patient teacher, one with a conscience of society and its needs and a heart for all. He was a good shepherd.
In his tribute, the Very Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Gibson recounted how Canon Harwood influenced his career in the ministry and that of many of the females who are now in the priesthood.
He assigned to me areas of ministry, and he allowed one to get on with the ministry to which one had been assigned, knowing that he was there to support. He was a great mentor and gave the youth, I think, free hand to be themselves and to know that he was around no matter what.
But beyond his outstanding work as a priest, Canon Harwood's daughter, Dr. Susan Harwood, remembered her father's love for his family, particularly his wife of over 60 years, Adele, his 3 children, and 2 grandchildren.
To grow up with his love and the love of our mother gave us a firm foundation in this world. And having the support of Mummy and Daddy meant that we had confidence to pursue our goals in the military, in the church, and in higher education. Daddy's constant words of encouragement, his prayers, advice, and his close attention to our needs were how he showed us that love was unconditional.
Canon Harwood was laid to rest in the church's cemetery.
Lisa Broom reporting there. Millions of Pakistanis affected by the worst flooding in a decade are in desperate need of aid as authorities say they've been overwhelmed by the scale of the disaster, with the country's climate minister calling it a serious climate catastrophe. The death toll from monsoon flooding since June has now reached 1,136, according to figures released yesterday by the country's National Disaster Management Authority.
Where I'm standing right now, you can see all these rocks. Now these rocks were brought by the raging torrents and had a grinding effect. In fact, the place where I'm standing was shops and buildings. There's no sign left of those. We have one of the residents, of course, who was at his home with his family when the disaster struck. And he told us it was one of the most frightening experiences he had ever seen. He, of course, is now going to show us his house and tell us about the damages that have happened here.
It was 2 a.m. when the water came into our home. Many buildings close by were wiped out. There was a bridge. That too is gone. We left with just the clothes on our backs. Everything else is destroyed.
At the Sam said that his family and all were lucky to be able to get out. He, of course, has come back to retrieve whatever valuable belongings that may still be left. You can see there's a box here containing personal effects. There are bags, bedding, and if you see on this corner here, the caps, which is a traditional cap in the area, some toys. Of course, other family members are still busy. This is exactly what happened to the house. These people were extremely lucky, but there are also unfortunate people who lost everything.
30 to 40 homes were totally destroyed here. People are seeking refuge in the mosque and school. Many hotels here were destroyed.
The floods have swept away key roads and bridges, and although international aid may be arriving, it is going to be a difficult task to get it to places where it is needed most.
European Union ministers are to meet next week to discuss oil and gas prices as the situation is looking grim for the upcoming winter season.
The Czech Republic currently holds the rotating presidency of the European Union, and that is why they have called this emergency meeting of energy ministers next week in Brussels. They say it's absolutely essential that the EU takes a look at ways that it can shield industry, companies and people from soaring energy bills. There's a lot of concern, of course, across the bloc about how to try and shield people from the impact of these bills. We've all seen how how energy costs are just going up and up. Consumers very concerned indeed. Now, what the Czech Republic says is that it will be putting on the table a proposal, and a number of proposals, and among them will be a cap on gas prices that are used for electricity production. It's very important, said the Czech industry minister when he was outlining some of these proposals a bit earlier, that the EU does take a bloc-wide approach. He says that some countries are going to be suffering a lot more than others because of the impact of a drop in gas supplies, particularly from Russia, and that as a bloc, all 27 member states need to work together to try and navigate through this crisis, very much along the lines of an EU-wide approach that was taken during the COVID pandemic. We've also heard, I should add, from the French Prime Minister, Elizabeth Borne. She was talking a bit earlier here in Paris to company bosses. She has called on companies in France to try and reduce their energy consumption by 10%. This will be a voluntary basis. It won't be a mandatory basis, but the government says that it does reserve the right to put in mandatory cuts in the future if it is felt that it is needed. We've heard from Elizabeth Borne again, as we've been hearing from these EU leaders, that it will be a very difficult winter ahead for consumers and businesses in Europe.
In more international news, powerful Iraqi leader Muqtada al-Sadr is on a hunger strike until the use of force by security units against his followers stops. The move came after al-Sadr announced he is quitting political life for good and closing his political offices, a move that prompted protests by supporters and led to deadly violence.
At least 20 people have been killed. The chaos has now spread to the heavily fortified Green Zone, with reports of heavy fighting between rival Shiite factions. Sadr's supporters had earlier stormed the presidential palace in Baghdad, sparking a crackdown by police. Mahmoud Abdelwahed joins us live now from Baghdad. So there's been quite an escalation in the last few hours.
It has been, and it still is, an escalation. Does not seem to be ending anytime soon. We've been hearing gunshots, civil explosions, also in and around the Green Zone, as you can hear probably behind me, not far from where I'm standing now. So these clashes are now continuing between armed groups affiliated to Muqtada al-Sadr, known as Salam Brigades on the one hand, and military units with the security forces. Part of them are affiliated to the Sadr rival politicians or political bloc known as the Coordination Framework. That is the parliamentary bloc backed by Iran. It's very chaotic. The area around the Green Zone has been blocked completely. The curfew is in place, as you know, since 7 p.m. today, not only in Baghdad but also in other provinces, especially in central and southern Iraq. We have been hearing several explosions. We do not know whether or not these are probably grenades or probably mortar rockets fired in the area. Muqtada al-Sadr has just announced that he is going on a hunger strike until this violence ends. This violence started as his supporters stormed the presidential palace today, following his announcement when he announced that he is quitting from the political process. This, as you know, comes against the backdrop of 10 months of political stalemate due to disagreement between Sadr movement on the one hand and the Iranian-backed parliamentary bloc on the other hand, over forming a government, over who is entitled to form a government. As you know, that Sadr and his allies wanted to form a majority government without the Iranian-backed parties being part of it, because he accuses them of corruption, of political corruption, of ruining the state over the past years. On the other hand, the Iranian-backed parties want to form a consensus government to include all the various political parties. He says no, he does not accept that. He rejects that and says that he cannot have them as partners in any government or any future elections.
In sports, Deacons were the biggest winners on the opening night of the Republic Cup as they defeated Evans Mon Academy 20-0. Other big winners were Wales, who blanked FC Megaballers 12-0. Paradise stopped Barbados Fire Service with a 6-0 drubbing. Ellerton won 7-1 over St. Philip Academy, and Hillaby put 5 past the UWI Blackbirds, while Empire won by default over Red Hill. In the doubleheader at Bagatelle, where Mark Seal was, there were shutouts for Wotton over Young Boys FC and for Notre Dame over United Stars Alliance.
The Bayland Ballers had scored twice in the first half through Carl Joseph and Zico Edmin, and the goal rush continued here in the second when Joseph benefited from a defensive blunder in the 48th minute for the Dames to go 3-0 up. Joseph would complete his hat-trick when the easy-looking free kick still managed to find its way into the bars. This was in the 63rd minute. And here, Dames on the move again. Another fall by the defense, this time in the area. Anton Graves would take the kick from the spot and convert in the 69th minute to make it Dames 5. Graves would get his brace 10 minutes later. Another free kick, and Graves, poorly marked, gets the header. United Stars Alliance had this shot on goal, a free kick that was taken just beyond the halfway line, but keeper Shakib Kelman did well to parry the ball over the bar. The final score, therefore, Dames 6, United Stars Alliance 0. In the second match at Bagatelle, Wotton won a free kick in the 4th minute. Another foul on the player, and Wotton quickly takes the kick and catch Young Boys napping for Jabari Chandler to open the scoring. Fast forward to the second half, the 60th minute, and Kimar John is making a run on goal. A cutback leaves 2 defenders for dead, and he finishes with a left booter to give Wotton the 2-0 decision over Young Boys.
Mark Seal reporting there. And that's our look at sports this morning. Time now to take a look at weather. The temperature right now, 27 degrees Celsius. Well, around 25.8 it's reading there. It's feeling though like 31 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity stands at 84%. It's fair and slightly hazy on the outside. The barometric pressure is 1012 millibars, and the winds are coming from the east-northeast at 18 kilometers per hour. We'll have a low tide at 11:27 this morning. We'll see a high tide coming our way later on in the afternoon at 12 minutes to 6. The seas are smooth to moderate in open water. Swells are between 1 and 2 meters and holding steady. Today it will be mostly sunny. And tonight, partly cloudy with a few brief isolated light showers. And here's a look at the international weather forecast. And that's my time for this edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you at 7 with headline news. Up next is Pearson with Mornin Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Hi, good morning to you indeed. Welcome to today. Today is Tuesday, the 30th of August, 2022. I'm Pearson Bowen, welcoming you here, there and everywhere. Thank you for joining us on our streams online, on YouTube and on Facebook. Always wonderful having you company indeed. Now today, Tuesday, again, another chance for you to unscramble the letters right here on Morning Barbados, where we have some fun. Also today, Thornwood will be coming by. We want to look at starving yourself, that some people do, as a method to lose weight. Is it the wisest thing to do? And if you're doing it, what danger are you putting yourself in? We'll open up the lines for you to call today with Thorn. Thorn will take your calls this morning, so look out for that opportunity to talk directly to a fitness trainer this morning. So that's an opportunity you should not miss a little later on in the show today. Money talks, and we ought to listen. The man who wrote the book will join us, because these are tough times, and tough times call for us to be able to listen very carefully to what every cent we have is saying to us. And so he'll share with us some strategies for us to better manage our monies and make the most of what little we do have. So look out for that too. Also, do you know the difference between a cold and the flu? I mean, seriously, do you actually know the difference, or do we confuse the terms? Is there a difference, or what do either terms mean? And particularly as it relates to our children, how do we manage their health at that time when they sneeze, cough, feel warm, and we think they may have the flu or the cold? Dr. Gillian Birchwood, our pediatrician, will be joining us as we take a look at that, the symptoms and the treatments. We'll continue to share with you what you can expect when you join for the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum coming up this week, starting on Thursday. The Chief Executive Officer of Export Barbados BIDC will join us. We want to hear what they too expect and what are the opportunities that can be afforded us in Barbados and the wider Caribbean as well from that experience of linking with the motherland, Africa. Let's get started though by looking at the continuing saga of entrepreneurship and the joys that come from support from the Barbados Trust Funds Limited. We're joined this morning by two entrepreneurs, Joanne Wilson, who is owning Uniquely Crafted, and Santia Jones of Santi's Popcorn. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Bonjour, bonjour. Good morning indeed. Joanne, I want to start with you. You have a business called Uniquely Crafted. What's your business about? So just pause a minute, Joanne. Just pause a minute, because it seems as if we're having some audio issues there. I don't know if my technical crew can help me, but I'll get back to you in just a moment while we try to resolve that, Joanne. Santia, Santi's Popcorn. You know, one would think business out of popcorn? Tell me about that, getting into the popcorn business.
Yes, good morning to Pearson and the Morning Barbados family. Santi's Popcorn was birthed out of a neighborhood cricket match. I did popcorn at the cricket match, and from there, the love for the popcorn grew, so then it developed into a business.
Mm-hmm. So popcorn, I mean, it's either pure, clean, clear, white popcorn. It is either caramel popcorn, pretty colored. What varieties? So how do you make popcorn a business? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, they have popcorn. It became a business because I offer many different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
I have coconut caramel.
Really?
I have regular butter. I have blue raspberry, and looking to launch 3 more flavors shortly.
Wow, girl, you're thinking. And so no doubt you have to do some testing, not just in the kitchen while you flavor these popcorns up, but also with your publics. How has it been doing that kind of science so that you find the right combination of product to sell?
One thing I can say is that God Almighty blesses the natural ability to birth products. So I have talked with my team, and we're looking to launch the 3 products soon. The customers too, they love the Santi's Popcorn because of the quality in the product, the quality in the service, and presentation as well.
Okay. Have you ever thought, you know what, there's so many other people in the market space doing popcorn, what makes mine unique? Have you given thought to that? And then what is the answer to that question? What makes yours different?
Mine is different because the type of the passion that I have for the popcorn, the love. So once you have a passion for something, you go all out to see it excel. Mm-hmm. So what separates me from other people is I'm a brand and I'm not just an ordinary popcorn person. I'm a gourmet popcorn service provider. So when you see Sanjeev's brand, you can automatically say, this is the one, because it's type of the quality, how we set up in terms of presentation, our branding, you see it by our shirts, our labels and stuff like that. You will see, you can identify and say, well, this is Sanjeev, the colors we use, and the packaging helps separate me too as well in terms of how the product is finally given to the customer.
You've really sat down and structured yourself to make this business viable. I love it indeed. And so, Joanne, we come back to you now, Uniquely Crafted. Tell us about your business.
All right, good morning again. Good morning to all viewers and listeners.
Just come forward a bit. Right. Go ahead. Go ahead now, Joanne.
We do a number of skincare products. We do jewelry. We also do beverages and food. Food includes the cheesecake aspect of it, just pastry, dessert, and we do a rum cream liqueur and a spice rum iced tea.
You are uniquely crafted indeed. You're in the food business and catering. So tell me about why you jumped into the business in this kind of way and this type of business.
Okay, I started out with jewelry first because after I finished working, I felt a little bored, so I needed something else to do in downtime. So then I started with the jewelry. And then the rum cream liqueur, that was a recipe from my father. So after he passed away, I decided to brand it under him, Harwood and Holman. And it was so good an opportunity that he could have passed away and leave a legendary that we can carry on in the family and incur an additional income. The skincare came about to me wanting to try different things, experiment, work with different raw materials and see the outcome and the solutions that it can form or can help various persons with.
You know, when you enter business, you can get some things so right, but you can also get some things so wrong, the risks involved. Did the risk scare you at any time? And what keeps you so grounded to keep going forward?
The risk, yes, but if I studied the risk, I would not have been here today. Maybe I've quit it because everything is not straightforward. You have to put in the energy and you have to put in the time if you want to see results. So I know there's a lot of risks involved being an entrepreneur, but as I said, being an entrepreneur is part-time for me, so I also have some other assistance. When I fall short, maybe with finances or in the area, I can fall back down and get help from other areas.
Right, and so one of those areas with which you seek help is the Barbados Trust Funds Limited. Talk to me about your decision to go to them and the relationship you've had so far with them, Joanne.
Okay, through the trust fund, I saw an advertisement about the offering of the financing. And then I thought this was a great opportunity, so I decided to look into it. While the trust fund is one of the best stakeholders that I'm dealing with thus far, it's not only about funding. They help us with marketing, branding. They also help us with getting our products out. Any opportunity that comes up to do a pop-up shop, whether it be at a supermarket, Sky Mall, or wherever an event is being hosted, the trust fund always try to get us involved. And we are really the interest of the trust fund because there's no time that I had called for assistance and it was denied. They're always there willing to help you at any given time. Don't care what time you call, they are ready to assist you. Just tell them what you want, what you need, or how would you need assistance, and then they will work from you to this. So it's not just about financing, but it's also about branding and growing the business and going forward, taking you to different markets. I am very thankful for the trust fund.
Santia, have you had a similar experience and did you also join with them for the same reasons, for some assistance?
Of course I did. The trust fund is a very good help to me, not only me, but to the business community. They have a very good program going in terms of exposure. They give you help in terms, as Joanne said just now, they're really helpful. There's no time at all I had called on them and it was denied any help. And they are on time with it as well.
On time, they're just in time and they're always on time. Great. Now, Santee's Popcorn, you know, what's new? What's new next? So that we can get all excited about Santee's Popcorn. Where can I go and get a taste of Santee's Popcorn?
Well, recently, Santee's Popcorn have been at events. We just did the Food and Rum Festival. So look forward to us being a part of that team. And we operate at the Dome Mall Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Oh, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the Dome Mall. You can come sample and taste and buy Santee's Popcorn. And then, of course, you'll be working along with the BTMI in the Food and Rum Festival for 2022. Well done. What about you, Joanne, in terms of getting yourself out there? How do people get to know what you offer? And where can we actually, too, engage with your products and services?
Okay, now I'm going to do like pop-up shop. I advertise online. As I said, we are a home-based business. Currently, you can find my products at Pauline Beauty Supply, which is in Black Rock on the Carlton Complex. And I'm also in some dialogue with some other stakeholders to see if we can get the product on their shelf. So once the dialogue is fruitful, then you may get an update, or you will see an update on my page indicating where else you can find my product.
You're doing so very well. I'm so proud to have met you this morning. I'm pleased as well. Joanne Wilson of Uniquely Crafted and Santia Jones of Santee's Popcorn. Got me feeling eating some popcorn all now, for real. Best of luck going forward. You can order, for real? How does one order?
I'll deliver for you. My telephone number is 1246-239-0049.
239-0049.
Yes, I can see you in coconut caramel flavor.
Girl, you got me good. You got me good. Well done indeed. Well done indeed. That is it. That's it. To know your customer. To know your customer by reading them well. Well done, both of you. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And I really wish you every success with your businesses going forward. And I'm glad that the Barbados Trust Funds Limited has been really right there to support you every step of the way. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
too.
You're very welcome indeed. You're welcome. All right. You do too. Morning Barbados takes a break right here. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
15 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock. Today is Tuesday. On Thursday, the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum starts here at the Lord Erskine Sandiford Centre in Barbados. It's the coming together of Africa and the Caribbean, simply put, of course. But there's going to be a lot of discussion and exchange going on trade and investment in the respective regions. Joining us to talk a little bit more about the upcoming benefits to be derived by Barbados and the Caribbean is the Chief Executive Officer of Export Barbados BIDC. Good morning to you, Mark Hill.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, my brother. It's good to see another CP man right there next to me on the screen. This is fantastic.
I was just about to say so. CP for life.
For life indeed. For life indeed. All right, let's talk about it. I mean, you are seated in that spot. I mean, the name says a lot. Export Barbados BIDC. And you did say that your organization is pursuing your stated mandate of contributing to the diversification and growth of Barbados economy through increased exports of products and services. Now, that's a lot, but what does it mean?
Yeah, it's a lot of heavy lifting. As you will know, our economy depends on foreign exchange in a significant way. And therefore, what it means is that we have to look at our traditional markets and our traditional economic pillars, such as the financial services, such as the tourism, and therefore add and strengthen and augment our export capacity, because we earn our living, our food is on our tables, we get all the technology that we need, we get to bring in the cars that we want because of our capacity to earn foreign exchange. And the best way to earn foreign exchange is through exports. Because what COVID has shown us that we need to build a more resilient economy and therefore augment tourism and build around tourism so that our products and service are offering around the globe is a lot more uptake, and therefore diversify the economy by creating more jobs, creating more excitement in the markets, and challenging Barbadians basically to go beyond these 300,000 persons that we have here domiciled on island. This is really a very small space, and let us look at the big global opportunities that the island can have as far as exports and trade is concerned.
And one of those opportunities come through the continent known as Africa. And that's where this Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum is going to be so very vital when we bring these numbers together. Now, when you look at trade and investment, I'm deliberately saying it like that because there are two opportunities offered to people. So when people get together from Thursday at the Lord Erskine Sandiford Center, we're looking at those who want to do clear trade and those who are seeking investment opportunities in Africa or investment opportunities in the Caribbean as a consequence of working through the African Afri-Exim Bank. So talk to me about the mechanisms that will be unfolded when Thursday's event starts.
Yeah, look, when Thursday event starts, we're going to get a lot of what PM Motley also defines as the transatlantic bridge being rebuilt. As you would know, trade takes place between the two continents, and primarily what we used to have is, in the slavery context, the movement of people and capital, but not in the interest of African people. What is going to be happening on Thursday through to Saturday is that we're going to be having now trade between Africa and the Caribbean now in the interest of African people, and using African tools and instruments to facilitate what we call rebuilding this transatlantic bridge. And by that, you will know that we normally have to go to UK or the US to get to Africa. But one of the significant things for me is to see that coming on the 31st of August, Ethiopian Airlines will be landing in Barbados. It's a chartered flight, but it's the beginning of a journey, direct flight from Nigeria to Barbados, bringing a large number of delegates. So we're talking about the air bridge being rebuilt. And then the other thing that we're going to be doing is building the sea bridge so that we're moving goods and services across the ocean a lot more effectively. But also with the African Exim Bank involved, we're building what we call the bridge that allows us to move capital back and forth between the Caribbean and Africa as seamless as possible. So we're talking about the African Exim Bank functioning as an intermediary bank. So we don't have to go through Europe anymore. We can now do business directly with each other. And we're excited about these three mechanisms. Once we deliver these three things, we believe that we have pretty much done our job, and all of the signals are pointing that we're going to land this plane and we're going to deliver these results for Caribbean and African people.
Fantastic. I mean, the capacity to be able to not just meet face-to-face, technology is going to play a very critical role going forward as well. The air bridge and sea bridge, yes, because we do have to move actual literal products and services forward. But, you know, Africa has developed its capacity to be able to exchange currency, to exchange things technologically. And there's a lot that we can benefit from that ability to build our capacity here in the Caribbean to be able to do business one with the other using technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we visited Rwanda, and they're miles ahead when it comes to using digital technology and digitalization to really improve their governmental systems and their services. Also, Kenya with their M-Pesa, they do a lot of trade on their cell phone, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot that we can learn from Africa, and there's a lot that we can also give to Africa as well. For example, we're having a nice marriage between the Center of Plant Medicine in Ghana and our plant medicine experts here, so that we're now building out new biotech and scientific capacity that will help leverage our scientific strength with their capacities as well. So we're networking at different levels, so that where they're strong, we're bringing them in and working closely with them, and where we are strong, they're collaborating with us, so that we're really strengthening each other and not weakening each other going forward. Yeah.
What's the space for the small craftsperson in this trade and investment forum? I'm asking that because you're basket weavers, you're people who do small things, but they also look for an opportunity because some of their products are very unique that could very well be of great demand in Africa, and now to be able to have it designed in a way that they can have the capacity to be able to deliver. What's the space for them at this trade and investment forum?
Well, what I would say is that we have a market village that small SMEs will be showcasing their stuff at the forum. But as we speak, we have put on a plane, while the forum is going on, we've put one of our top designers, Mark Daniel from Avar, on a plane, and he's right now in Kenya as a designer, working with manufacturers in Kenya and looking at producing a line of design products in the African market, then shipped to the rest of the world. So stuff is happening in the background. The other thing that we have done earlier up in the year is that we consolidated a container as well. So rather than a person having to have a big order to fill up a 40-foot or 20-foot container, we have a consolidation model that Export Barbados put together, so that you can, however small your shipment is, it could be baskets, it could be some liqueur, it could be whatever product that meets the sanitary standards. We put all of them together and ship together, and therefore the cost is reduced for small business people. We've already modeled that and shipped off that 20-foot container to Ghana, and now we're getting ready to market those products in Ghana to the markets in Accra, et cetera, et cetera. So we're looking at a lot more practical things that are actually helping small businesses, helping Caribbean people to get their product into those spaces and get there at a very good competitive price point as well.
You said the word Mark Daniel, another sleepy boy. I'm sorry, I just could not let that one escape. the people's knowledge about the great work coming out of the Color Shapari School. Now, at this forum, starting on Thursday right through till Saturday, no doubt business people from across the region are invited. They're going to be sitting face to face with the Afri-Exim Bank and talking, really talking, because in Africa, the bank wants to invest in the Caribbean to help build up capacity and the like. And likewise, we want to be able to benefit from that opportunity. But we also want to look at opportunities where the balance also tips in our favor, where we can actually invest in Africa. Is that what you're thinking as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The African, we have a very well stocked of booths and businesses that have come in the island. A lot of companies, billion-dollar companies, million-dollar companies that are here in a full range of industries, energy, also banking, additional banking services are coming in as well. But this trade show for me, it only hit me last night. I was telling a friend of mine, you know, you're working on something and your adrenaline is going and it doesn't hit you what you're really doing. But the healing that is taking place as I collaborate with the Africans and the trust that is developing is significant. But this is one of the biggest trade events that the Caribbean has actually ever seen, because we have the African Union involved, we have CARICOM involved, we also have CDB involved, we have Caribbean Export involved, we have International Trade Center involved, ITC, that's where Pat McCourt was coming online. But this is massive, Pearson. The delegation that is coming is high profile. We have presidents, vice presidents coming. So both on the ministerial side and the business side, I would encourage all Bajans. You know, we like to do things late, but if you want to sign up, we had to close off registration because we started off this event thinking that around 250 people will turn up, and now we have a registration of 2,000 persons.
Wow!
With almost close to 700 Africans actually signing up to come on board, and then Caribbean people as well. So it just blew up and went beyond our imagination.
Well, I like that. When we go beyond our imagination, that's a good thing, I think, because what we discover on the other side is perhaps going to be fantastic. And so it starts on Thursday right through till Saturday, and it's an opportunity for us at the Lord Erskine Sandiford Center to interface with our brothers and sisters from the African continent, people who look like us, people who are already building out the roads of success so we can learn from. So we don't have to, again, reinvent the wheel, but also people who want to invest in us and from whom we can also benefit by trading with them as well. So people from across the region are going to be here, and so I believe it's going to be critical for all Barbadians to open ears and open eyes, pay attention. Is there any chance, I know you said there's going to be a marketplace there, is there any chance for ordinary Barbadians to come through Lord Erskine Sandiford, do you know, and see for themselves what's on offer?
Well, it's an event where you had to register to come in. But I would check today and let the folks know if we can allow at least folks to come into the village. But I don't think that that's possible. It's really a registered event that you had to come into. But it will be streamed live online, so Barbadians can participate. And I think we're in negotiation with CBC so that we can actually stream it live, that the public can be involved. But there are some additional events. So the team is doing a nice tour on Saturday. And one of the tours is that the African persons will be exposed also to our road tennis game.
Nice.
So we're looking to challenge our brothers to see if they can, put a nice pig at somebody at Golden Square.
Give them a sour, good old Bajan sour. Indeed. This is fantastic. The relationship, one people, one destiny, indeed, all working towards one goal, reimagining ourselves as we go. And so this opportunity is starting Thursday right through Saturday. Mark, I want to thank you and your team from Export Barbados BIDC and everyone else who's been working so hard in Invest Barbados to pull it all together. And I'm excited about it. I'm sure many people are too. And so we'll be keeping our eyes and ears open to see what the future looks like through this wonderful relationship between Barbados, the African and Caribbean peoples indeed. So thank you so much. All the best with the seminar going forward.
Bless you, my brother.
Indeed,
Thanks.
indeed. You're welcome. Mark Hill, Chief Executive Officer of Export Barbados BIDC. Remember, the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum starts on Thursday, runs till Saturday, and we need to pay attention. Just listen for the reports right here from the CBC. We're taking a break right here. We're coming back with the news and more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Time now for headline news on this Tuesday morning. Police are investigating the death of a 53-year-old man whose unresponsive body was pulled from the waters of Paynes Bay Beach, St. James, yesterday. The deceased has been identified as Tony MacDonald Leacock of Durance Village, Holders Hill, St. James. Police say a water sports operator at around 1:15 p.m. informed there was a body of a man in the water. The operator dived to retrieve the body and brought it ashore. Leacock was identified by a family member. Fresh hope that school can return to normal come mid-September with the ease in COVID-19 protocols and with vaccines now available for a wider range of students. The National Council of Parent Teachers Associations has been looking at the situation and reacting to the news regarding the end to social distancing mandates. NCPTA General Secretary Nicole Brathwaite spoke exclusively to the Morning Report. She considers the move a step in the right direction.
There is some concern among parents about, the length of time that children will be having to wear masks and so on. That is still a concern, but now we have that the social distancing is no longer going to be in place. I'm sure that that is going to be a welcome avenue for the kids to be having more social interaction, similar to what they would have had before COVID, without having to be so far away from their classmates and so on.
In relation to vaccines for students under 12 years old, the NCPTA General Secretary expects mixed reaction and some hesitation from parents yet again, but she believes it will be welcomed if there is some guarantee that school will return to full-face instruction. Ms. Brathwaite says there is need for a renewed public awareness push by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Chief Medical Officer, and local pediatricians.
I am thinking that they will welcome this opportunity to add a layer of protection to their children going back into school, especially if it means that they would be back in, it would lean towards more of the children being back in fully and not having to go 2 days here, 3 days there, and so on. So I am thinking that we will have to really survey our parents and see what their feelings are presently. But I'm thinking that persons will welcome the layer of protection, especially if it would get the children back into school fully, which is what they're very, very concerned about.
Directive number 12 of the Emergency Management COVID-19 protocols will take effect from tomorrow, Wednesday. Notably absent is the social distancing requirement of 3 feet, which was in the August 13th directive. That one stated that business places should comply with the physical distancing protocols, restrict the number of persons within and outside the business, and ensure a physical distance of at least 3 feet is maintained between persons. It also said at that time that they should ensure individuals do not assemble other than for transacting business. However, the new directive, released yesterday and taking effect tomorrow, says any member of the police service or the unit may enter any business or organization during working hours to ensure that the business establishment or organization is in compliance with this directive, and for that purpose may ask questions of the owner, operator, employees, or patrons of the business establishment or organization. And finally, let's look at the local COVID-19 numbers. 63 people were diagnosed with the virus on Sunday, August 28th. They were among 288 tests conducted by laboratories across the island. The cases comprised 8 people under the age of 18 and 55 who were 18 years and older. There were 81 people in isolation facilities, while 1,538 people were in home isolation. As of August 28th, there have been 539 deaths as a result of COVID-19. And that's our headline news for this Tuesday morning. I'm Shane Seeley. Pearson will have more for you on Morning Barbados in a few moments.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, so it's 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. We'll get to Dr. Birchwood in just a moment, but I want to share with you now a Bajan pure water tip, which I need to share with you because you need to pay attention to how you consume water indeed. And that tip is brought to you with the compliments of Bajan pure purified water, which you know now is in your supermarket. So head out today to get your bottles of Bajan pure purified water. Why? Because it does your body good. What's today's tip? We remind you today that water may also help with your weight loss. Yes, if it is consumed instead of sweetened juices and sodas. So preloading with water before meals can help prevent overeating by creating a sense of fullness. That's what they do. You notice when you go to restaurants, they give you water first, early o'clock. That's why they're preloaded with water. So water may help with the weight loss if it's consumed instead of sweetened juices and sodas. You should preload with water before your meal. That can help prevent overeating by creating a sense of fullness. That's your today's Bajan Pure Purified Water tip. And of course, I want to remind you too, coming up a little later on with Thornwood, when we start to look at how do we begin to lose weight. Starving yourself is not necessarily the option. And so we'll be taking your calls then, as well as you may have some questions about how to lose some weight. Thornwood will join us later on and your calls later in the show. But let's welcome now our girl, our favorite pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood. Dr. Birchwood, good morning.
Morning, Pearson, and morning to all of Barbados.
Good. Don't forget, preload with water before meals. Hint, hint.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip.
Yes.
That's weight loss.
I should actually start to do so to help with weight loss indeed. All right, today we want to look at the differences between the cold and the flu. And you know, every sneeze, every cough does not necessarily mean it's a cold, and every cold does not mean it's the flu. What are the differences between the cold and the flu?
Well, unfortunately, we are coming up to flu season. You know, it's that time of the year, later on towards the winter time in the northern climates, and the flu starts circulating. And unfortunately, of course, it's very unpleasant. Well, the first big difference is the virus that causes the flu is different from the viruses that cause the cold. So the flu is caused only by the influenza virus. And many people would be familiar with it because there were influenza pandemics before, which, you know, are very famous in history. Whereas the cold tends to be caused by other viruses like rhinovirus or para-influenza virus or other types of coronavirus, not COVID-19. Those are the viruses that tend to cause the cold. So that's one big difference, is the cause is definitely different. Another difference is how the symptoms develop. So with the flu, the onset tends to be pretty sudden. So you would have a child who's been running around and playing and active, and then in the evening they suddenly look all drawn up and miserable. Whereas with the cold, it tends to develop more gradually. You start having a little sore throat, a little runny nose, a little sneezing, and then it gradually develops to where you have the well-known symptoms like cough and so on. And fever is less likely to happen with a cold than with a flu. With the flu, you get body aches and pains. With the cold, not usually. And the height of the fever with a flu is much different. With a cold, if you do get a fever, it tends to be a much more low-grade fever. So you have signs and symptoms outside of the respiratory tract, as in the nose, throat, and lungs. You tend to have those symptoms much more prominently featured when you have the flu compared to when your child just has the cold.
Lord have mercy. We use those terms interchangeably. you know, it slips out flu, let's say it slips out cold, and you just don't keep it. As far as you're concerned, I don't feel well. I'm nasal. I have a little bit of aches and pain, a little bit of fever sometimes, and as far as I'm concerned, I've got the flu, which is a familiar term that we tend to use. But now there's a difference, and I'm glad that you're able to clarify for us where they come from. But does it matter where it comes from? Does it matter whether or not it's called the flu or the cold?
Well, if we, as doctors, if we are dealing with someone we think has influenza versus if we think someone just has the cold, the way that we monitor and manage that child is going to be different, because the flu is much more likely to result in complications than just a simple cold. So the cold tends to be, you know, in and gone for a few days. Every parent who has a child who goes to school or who goes to daycare will know that the cold just lasts for a couple of days, and then next week you have another one. But with the influenza, yes, unfortunately. But with the influenza, you tend to be sicker and down for a much longer time. So really, we are on the lookout for complications because the influenza certainly can make you much sicker than just a regular cold.
Oh, so when it persists, it's more likely to be the influenza, the flu that we're dealing with here. And so the method of treatment not naturally will change depending on which one it is, if it's a cold or the flu. Or is it a baseline of certain kinds of treatment that either one can be treated with?
Yes. So, if you have a relatively mild case of the flu or a cold, the management is going to be essentially the same, which is supportive care. And that is if you have a child who's low risk. So, it's just going to be the usual measures, managing a fever if you do have one, with medications that are appropriate for that, making sure that your child drinks, because children, if they have a sore throat and they feel rotten, they're just going to curl up and they're not going to want to drink anything. And that is actually potentially more dangerous than the flu or the cold itself. You're going to be making sure that you keep them eating if they're willing to eat. If they're not willing to eat, if they're willing to drink, that'll do for now. And you're going to manage the runny nose and the cough and so on, just to keep them comfortable. Because the vast majority of the time, your child can very successfully fight off the cold or a mild case of the flu. But if you have a more severe case of the flu, that's when we start thinking about whether or not we need to use antiviral medications. And so we tend to use those in sicker children or in those who are at higher risk, such as children who have underlying lung conditions like asthma, or if your child has a condition like sickle cell disease, or if they're developmentally challenged. These children are at greater risk for having bad outcomes from the flu, and also children who have heart conditions. So when you have that subset of children, you're going to be much more vigilant and you're going to be much more likely to be aggressive in your management of the flu.
There's some who are going to say, but you can't stop it. It's somewhere in the atmosphere, somewhere you can't even see it. So how do you know? And how do you ever protect your sweet child from catching the flu in particular? Because the cold is transient, it goes very quickly. But the flu in particular, especially those who have underlying conditions, as you've said. So what, do I wrap them again in the cotton wool, package them in plastic and set them aside and say, don't move from there? How do we protect them?
Well, fortunately for the flu, for the influenza, there is the flu vaccine, which is available every year, and it's seasonal. So the flu vaccine in 2021 is not going to be the same as the flu vaccine in 2022, because it depends on what we call predictive modeling for what we think is likely to be the predominant flu strain. So the companies in advance will say, okay, we haven't seen influenza A, this particular type in some time, it's likely to be coming around this year, we'll put it in the flu vaccine. So it's really important to get your annual flu vaccine. I certainly make sure that I get it. I make sure that my family gets it as well. You only have to have a good case of the influenza once to know that you don't want it in your children. So it actually is available for use in even very young children, all the way up to adults. And I would strongly recommend that you get the flu vaccine. That's the best thing that you can do to prevent it. Of course, the other measures are similar to what we already know for COVID-19, which is hand hygiene, not touching your eyes, your nose, your mouth, the wet surfaces on your face, because that's where we are most likely to contract the virus when it comes in contact with us.
We do the flu vaccine here? I am serious. That one took me by surprise. You say it on American news, but we do it. I can't think ever in my adult life ever going to anywhere to say, can I have my annual flu vaccine? But you're saying to us now that it is available and we should seek it out.
Absolutely. It's available every single year. I'm going to make sure you get your joke this year.
I survived the COVID-19 vaccine. I don't know if I can survive another vaccine at the moment. But it's good to know. It's really comforting to know. And so there are lots of parents who take their children for the annual the usual immunizations when they're quite young, preparing them for school. But I really don't know how many parents actually follow up with this flu vaccine, especially annually when the flu season comes around. This is news to a lot of people. This is fantastic.
So quite a lot of people do, especially those who have children at risk. They book in advance and say, make sure that when the flu vaccine comes into Barbados, that my child gets it or my family gets it. So it definitely is available in Barbados, and I would encourage everyone to get it to combat the seasonal flu. It can be deadly. People don't realize that. Even in children, it can be a deadly disease. So it's not to be taken lightly.
And you're quite right, particularly those who struggle with asthma, because, you know, the respiratory system is what we're talking about here. When that inflammation gets in there and really clogs up the drain pipes, I call them, you know, you can't breathe, you're choking. And that can scare the living daylights out of any parent when you hear a child wheezing and struggling to breathe. And so it's so vital that we pay attention indeed. Now, we oftentimes tend to think the flu comes from the wet spaces. So if outside is damp, look out, you're going to catch a flu. If you walked outside and it was really hot and suddenly began to rain on you, you're going to get the flu. You're going to get this. True or false, or is those just myths?
Definitely a myth. And I always think it's funny when I see people in the sea and it starts to rain and they run out of the sea. Right? Yes, in case they get wet. Yes. But fortunately, that's definitely a myth. So you needn't worry about, you know, your child gets wet in the rain or something, that somehow they're more likely to come down with the flu. It is caused by a virus. You have to be exposed to the virus in order to actually come down with it. It's not going to be that you've gotten wet and you didn't have an umbrella. So you can relax about that with your children.
Management of the cold now for a second, because, you know, we like to flood them with juice. Have some orange juice. So you're going to get over it quickly. Drink this orange juice. Is that advisable, or is it the consumption of the fresh fruit better?
Well, you know, juices, you have to be really careful with. Certainly, I would advise no juices that have sugar added. But if your child has a small quantity of 100% fruit juice on a regular basis, that actually is not a bad thing. But what you want to avoid is consumption of large amounts of fruit juice, particularly if there's sugar added, because that can really add to the calorie consumption that your child has every day. And if that's happening on a regular basis, you definitely see the weight going up in children far too rapidly. But you know, when they have the cold and the flu, if they're refusing to drink, but they will drink juice, we'll make an exception because we really don't want them to become dehydrated. But it certainly is not going to be a long-term plan. And drinking fresh fruit juice in small amounts when you are having an illness certainly can be a helpful thing for them to recover and to prevent complications like dehydration.
Dehydration we get from the juice, but you know, you hear feed the cold, feed the flu. Talk to us a little bit about why it's so critical to ensure that the children particularly eat and that they continue to eat even though they're not feeling well.
So, you know, when children have a sore throat or they feel achy or they feel rotten, they will just decide, well, I'm just never going to drink anything anymore. That's it. You know, they literally just shut down. And so if they have a fever along with that and they're battling an illness, that combination definitely puts them at high risk for, you know, not getting a sufficient amount of fluid. And when they have insufficient fluid, then they can become dehydrated. When they're dehydrated, then certainly if it's severe enough, that can put them at major risk for having complications. So, you know, you have to give them frequent small sips of fluid, even if they will not drink large amounts at one time. You can definitely get in a lot over a period of time if you give them a ½ ounce every 15 minutes or even a tablespoon every 15 minutes. That really does add up if you are persistent with it. It may be labor intensive, but it's persistent. Where we have children who refuse altogether to drink, sometimes they have to be admitted to hospital just to get IV fluids until they are willing to drink again. So we certainly don't like to see that happen. So if you can coax your child and get them drinking, even if they're not willing to eat, because we know their appetite will come back. You know, as soon as they start recovering from the illness, we can wait it out, even if they're not willing to eat. But if they're unwilling to drink, that is a deal breaker, and they would certainly need to be supported with fluids if necessary.
Oh, parents, pay attention. How do you know that this is not COVID? I mean, we're now hearing COVID-19 is everywhere. And so how do we know that it's the cold or the flu and not COVID-19? How do we detect the difference?
That is a tricky one because, you know, even with the cold and the flu, the symptoms can overlap quite a lot. And then when you throw COVID-19 into the mix, it really can be very challenging. And so the only way to really be certain and tell the difference is, unfortunately, to get that test. Because mild COVID can look like a mild cold, can be, you know, as we know, COVID can be just a little runny nose or a very slight sore throat, even for a short period of time. And in some cases, COVID can be more severe, and you can have a high fever and a child who feels achy and uncomfortable, and it can look just like the flu. So there's so much overlap that it really is important to get testing. That's the only way that you can really be sure what you're dealing with. And the same type of testing that's done for COVID, you can actually detect whether or not there's influenza virus present, because it's literally the same nasal swab test that would be done to determine the difference between the two.
And it's important to know the difference between the two. Important indeed, so that we can deal with treatment going forward. Dr. Birchwood, again, I'm telling you, this is so exciting. I'm learning so much from you. I'm sure that many others like myself are learning a lot too about how we recognize the difference between the cold and the flu, the COVID-19. How do we treat to all of it? That the flu is not the cold. The cold is different from the flu, even though there's similarities in so many different ways. But still, to know is to be empowered, and to be empowered means you can actually take an action now that you know. Absolutely. Thank you so much indeed for joining us again on a Tuesday morning. Looking forward next week, Tuesday, God Spare Life, for another interaction with you, Dr. Birchwood. Thank you.
Have a great day, and get your flu shot.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Dr. Gillian Birchwood, our pediatrician, reminding you the flu shot is available. So you need to go out and get to your nearest polyclinic, I suppose, and get your flu shot done. Contact your doctor, contact your pediatrician. It's available. It is really another layer when it comes to the management of your child's health as it relates to the flu season. We're actually going to take a break right here. We're coming back with even more on Morning Barbados in just a moment.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
26 minutes now after 7 o'clock. I cannot believe 21 years ago I had a chance to sit down to talk to this man about this book we're going to be talking about now, Money Talks and Listen. Leroy Straker is the man who wrote the book. Good morning to you, Leroy.
Listen.
I'm
can't
fine.
believe.
How are you doing? I'm great. Thank you for asking. 21 years ago. I'm really too long in this business now, for real. But we've had a chance to really talk about the contents of your book, which is still relevant today. So here it is now. We're faced with all sorts of things. How can this book, Money Talks Listen, help?
Well, Pearson, the book, though it has reached adult stage, it's still got some young influence, you know. The book talks a lot about the basics and the fundamentals of financing, which are the earning law, the saving law, the spending law, and investing law. No matter how much more complicated it gets, those are the ABC of building wealth, the laws of wealth. So the book still looks at all those things that can create a good financial base for people, can make people wealthy, can make people abundant, and can make people live lives that are better financially. So that's what the book deals with. And apart from just those laws, we look at all the other peripheral things about the laws. You know, the time we have on our hands that we waste, put it into some income producing activity to make more money, because we need more money. That's the earning capacity. And the savings is always there. You got to save. You must save something every time. Most financiers will tell you, pay yourself first, rather than paying all your creditors in town and all over the place. Pay yourself first. And then you got to be able to spend judiciously and invest. So the book still looks at all those basic principles. I call them the ABC of financing. Even though we have nowadays, in today's world, we have the digital money, we have wire transfers and all those things. Those basic tenets, earning, saving, spending wisely, and investing, are still the tenets that are in this book that I try to inculcate and get people to read about. Pearson.
You know, somebody's going to say to you, I hear you, Leroy, easier said than done, because at the end of the day, the money earned is only so much. And then we have so much more to do with that little that we have received. How do we begin, one, to pay ourselves first? How do we begin to build that whole habit of saving when the little bit has to stretch so much further today?
Yeah, well, for those people who say they can't save, you know, sometimes they might not have the capacity to be able to take the money from the wages and go to a credit union and save, or a bank on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. I tell those people to go to their HR department or get the money put into their account electronically, straight from their workplaces into their account. That's one means of getting it there and making sure it gets there all the time. That's savings. And we got to build on that, And when the money you have put by there as savings, paying yourself first, the idea is not to go back at it. It is put there to grow through interest. I mean, nowadays we're not getting much interest, but the idea is to still let the money stay there or find some means to invest in it. But build that cash supply all the time. Many people complain, I hear all through the years, people say, but Leroy, how can I save? How can I do this? I got 3 children in school. You little bit of money again can't help me here. What I'm saying, Pearson, you got to find ways and means to save for yourself and to save for your children. And saving is not only, you know, putting out the money, the $200 bill every week or every month as a kid. Savings is also paying that utility bill on time and avoiding late charges. People do not understand that the $3 that you save from paying late is going to help you to build your cash reserves as well. So pay your electric bill before date due, pay your water bill, pay your cell phone, pay your gas bill. All those things you pay before date due, and that's a saving to you as well. All the money that you get coming back from your grocery store, I tell people in simple terms, put that money in a top or a mustering box, as we used to call it years ago. All the change that comes back. And in 3 months' time, when you go to count that money in 3 years' time, you can have about $90 put by there in change alone. All that is savings. So the book looks at all those kinds of things. Getting people to work more, the extra hours you have, lay by, rather than sit down and, you know, licking your mouth. Put some of those money, put some of that hours into income generating activity to help you pay off your credit card, to help you buy gas, to help you buy the battery, to help you to give your children those school fees and those kind of things. All that's in the earning process. So the book looks at all those things. The book is called Money Talks Listen. It's been going from since 2001.
Yes.
This is 2022.
I know, I
and
remember
the
those
principles
days.
are the same thing.
Still the same. So here it is, then, money talks. You know, I keep asking all the while, what is money saying? What is money actually saying to us? Is money saying to us, I'm not as worthwhile today as I used to be, or that you need to be a lot more judicious with me as it is today versus yesteryear? What is money saying when it talks?
Pearson,
what do you hear it say?
If you don't treat it well, it says goodbye. You know? That's one thing that the first thing it does. It says goodbye.
Very
if you
quickly.
treat it well, it stays with you. You can build on it. I see people take money, look at the last couple of money. People got money crumble up in their hands and all sort of thing. Put it, crush up Frank Worrell's head, and crush up Sir Grant Lee Adams' head. They crush it. That is ill-treated money physically. But apart from that, people ill-treat it by spending it unwisely and wasting and that sort of thing. So I'm telling people that money speaks. Listen to what it's saying. If you treat me well, I will stay with you. If you ill-treat me, I'm going to run from you. Money is very coy. It's very shy.
Yes.
It can also embarrass you. But money is needed to do lots of things. We need it for good life. And, you got to work for it.
Yeah.
I say you got to save some of it. You got to spend it. And don't spend it injudiciously. Spend it wisely. Not every sale in town concerns you. Not everything you see you should purchase. Not everything you think that you want you should purchase. Save some of those things. Delayed gratification in some cases. So those are the basic things I talk to people about. Invest some of your money. And this thing about investing, to talk to the average black man about investing, first thing you tell you about is who crashed. Clico crashed. Trade Frontier, Conformers crashed. This body crashed. But they don't look and see that there are other agencies out there that people have put their monies in that they're getting good returns from. Mutual funds, bonds, property, those types of things. Money is going to work for you afterwards in your old age. When you become a senior, you don't have to plow the fields anymore. Money works for you through dividends, etc., etc., etc.
So money
the
says,
principles in the book.
So money says, I will work for you if you invest me wisely. Money says, if you don't spend me now, I can have this for you later. Money says, if you put some of me aside first, I can grow beautifully for you, and just when you least expect it, here I am. Money speaks to us in all of those kinds of ways. We need to listen. That's what you're saying to me through the book. So, but also you've laid out, yes, please.
You said it clearly. You have
so I got it. So I'm sure many people got it now too.
Listen to what it's saying.
But you've given, because even with all of that, life requires us to have discipline. And so I like the way you phrased it when you said there are certain laws, because laws tend to keep us in line. And so in your book, you've been able to define those laws towards us having a more comfortable living, even in our senior years, if we begin to pay greater attention to how we earn, how we save, how we invest in those kinds of things. And if we follow those natural laws of money, then we'll see that we can hear very clearly that we have a good life later on. And with all this discussion now about your pensions and the like, had we listened to money earlier, perhaps we would not have been having this conversation today.
Pearson, I've been doing seminars for the last about 28 years. And I hear, whenever people meet me, they would tell me, Mr. Stricker, if I had done the things that you told me 22 years ago, I would have been in a better position today. I hear that so often, from people that I don't even know. But the book still teaches people those things, teaches people the rudiments of money. And Pearson, there are laws at CBC that you have to obey. There are laws of the road that we have to obey. Schools have laws. Money also has laws. And those are the laws they talk about. The earning law, the saving law, the spending law, and the investing law. All people who have become wealthy have worked on these laws.
Indeed.
We need it for our survival, for our sustenance. We need to teach our children also about these things. We need to do it. We need to do it Pearson, it is for good financial that we do these things.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So the book is called Money Talks, Listen. It's still available on shelves island-wide. Look at this right there. So when you see it, you know exactly which one it is. It's by Leroy Straker, financial advisor for years now. Leroy Straker. Ideas on saving money, building a solid financial future, and practicing simple strategies that can give total meaning and beauty to life. So Money Talks, Listen, get the book, turn the pages, practice what's inside, and then live that beautiful life at the end of it all. Leroy, thank you so much for joining us again.
I want to say to people, people can call me at 233-7116.
233-7116.
I can bring the book. 233-7116. I can bring the book to you because it's not on many bookshelves now in Barbados, you know. But I used to do seminars, I used to do sales. I travel around. I have 2 young persons doing some sales for me. So when they see young persons bring this book, I'm asking to purchase it. And I've done some purchases. I've done some sales, as a matter of fact, at some places over the weekend. Pretty good. People are still accepting the book and the principles.
Very good. 233-7116. 233-7116. Leroy, thank you so much. All the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Pearson. Blessings.
Indeed. So if you missed the number, look back at the show later on YouTube or on Facebook to get the number 233-7116. I know the phone is going to ring later on. So, which person was that number again? 233-7116. All right, we're going to take a break right here. Remember, still to come, Thornwood will be joining us. We're looking at whether or not starving yourself is the best way to resolve your weight condition. And we'll be taking your calls then to him. If you have any call at all about fitness, about how to do this, do that, how to build this or build that, Thornwood will be taking your calls a little later on, so stand by for that opportunity. Break, and we're coming back with more in just a moment. 20 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. Time for you to unscramble some letters. Time to get your brains ticking over, folks. The numbers to call are 228-5562 or 228-5563. These words are easy. Look at this one. Look at this one. There are 2 words on your screen scrambled up. Your job is to unscramble them and then to call me on 228-5562 or 228-5563 and tell me the words you see. These are very simple words, very simple words. So call me now and tell me what words you think you can make once you have unscrambled successfully the letters you see on your screen. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Of course, you know me. I'm probably going to ask you to use it in a sentence as well. So as you think sentence. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Which 2 words are on your screen? Call me now. And tell me, work your genius. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. They didn't even tell me you were there. You were there long?
No, please.
Oh, okay. So, what's your first name or where are you calling from?
Sheila from St. James.
Hello, Sheila of St. James. Sheila. Now listen, you can't wait to tell me. So what words do you see on your screen?
Georgie Bando.
Use it in a sentence.
Take out your Georgie bundle and go along from here. Go along for a round.
Listen, for any of the youngsters watching this morning, what is a Georgie bundle?
A Georgie bundle is your belongings, your clothes, anything like that.
Yeah, but how come? It's a bundle, so talk to me how.
So if you're rude to your mother or father and they tell you what to tell you, go at your aunt or something like that, they say, take out your Georgie bundle, go pack your things, and go from here.
You remember we used to have it all wrapped in either a big sheet and you put everything in there, and you hook it on a stick and you go? There, you see, now you're talking. Now you're talking, Sheila. Thank you very much indeed. You're absolutely right, Georgie bundle. Well done, Sheila.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Sheila came in here with a mission to upset me so early in the morning, but that's all right. I bet you can't figure this one out now. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Figure this one out now, folks, and let me know. 228-5562 or 228-5563. It's a hyphenated word, but there are two words with a hyphen between them. What words do we have on our screen? Of course, then, how do you use those words in a sentence? 228-5562 or 63. Look at it very carefully. Look at it very carefully and tell me. And tell me by calling me on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Sheila jump in there hard. And Sheila jumped in and she got it right with the very first one. Let's see if you can too. We got a call coming in from St. James. Fantastic. Want to hear from anyone from anywhere across this island and perhaps anywhere across the world as well. So call us now. 228-5562 or 228-5563 to tell me once you've unscrambled these letters, the words you make from the screen. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. How do you do?
I am doing quite well. What about you?
I am doing quite well too. Thank you for asking. What's your first name and what parish are you watching from?
My first name is Lorraine and I'm calling from St. Michael.
Lorraine of St. Michael. Lorraine, what words do you see on your screen?
I think I'm saying Ecky Becky.
That's what you think you're saying. So use your thought in a sentence for me, Lorraine.
I think it has to do with the color of your skin, like.
Okay. So use those words in a sentence for me, Lorraine.
Okay. That person, looks like a Ecky Becky,
Lorraine, you tried. But there was a time when we thought that's extremely derogatory, right?
Yes, I know that person.
But it's one of those terms that we use both way. So thank you, Lorraine. You're absolutely right. It is indeed Ecky Becky. Thank you, all right?
Thank you, person. Have a good day.
You're welcome. And you do too, Lorraine of St. Michael. So we have St. James and St. Michael. Let's see where else we can go across this island to pull you in. Razzmatazz, look at this. I don't know who's going to work this out, but not me. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Look at that bunch of junk, as the lady once described it, on your screen. Work it out, sort it out, reorder it, unscramble it, and then call me on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Let's see what word you can make when you take all of those letters right there on your screen. I mean, there are many. Put them in order and give me the word. I don't know which word is the first letter. I don't know which letter is the beginning of the word or which letter is the ending of this word, but it's up to you to figure it out. 228-5562 or 228-5563. The only vowels I see there are A's and E's. Wow. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Good, you're welcome. I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. What's your first name and what parish are you watching from?
My name is Alicia and I'm calling from St. Michael.
Alicia from St. Michael. Alicia, you're having a good day today?
Yes, please.
Oh, wonderful, Alicia. So what word do you see on your screen, ma'am?
Extravaganza.
Use it in a sentence, Alicia. You know my drill. Tell me.
I'm not sure.
No, that's not the answer. So extravaganza is your thinking. Use it in the sentence.
Not sure.
You don't think you can find a sentence to use the word extravaganza? So you're not going to the extravaganza?
sure that's
Alicia, are you going to the
I'm not-
extravaganza?
Is that a sentence?
Don't you
I'm
think
not
that's a
sure.
You don't think that's a sentence that I can use it in? Are you going to the extravaganza?
I believe
Is that a
so.
fair sentence?
I believe so.
All right, Alicia, you're right on extravaganza. Thank you so much, Alicia of St. Michael, all right?
You're welcome.
Have a good morning. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So extravaganza is indeed correct. Let's see. What do we do? Yeah, another one, another one. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. What word is this? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Lost for words. 228-5563. I had to look at my paper to see what word is that? 228-5562 or 228-5563. I can't recognize it immediately. But I've now figured out what it is. Can you? 228-5562 or 228-5563. What word, once you unscramble these letters, can you make? And of course, you have to give me that word in a sentence. 228-5562 or 228-5563. The only numbers to call for this amount of fun in the morning. 228-5562 or 63. Unscramble the letters, tell me the word, and use that word in a sentence. This word is simple. Simple, simple, simple. And I'm sure if you, that sentence you'll probably use probably will engage your mother or your father or your parent or somebody like a teacher. 228-5562 or 228-5563. What word is this? What is it? Come on. What word is it? Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm well. Thank you for asking. Your first name and your parish. Where are you?
Chrisita from St. Michael.
Oh, Chrisita. What a big name, Chrisita.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Chrisita. What word do you see on your screen?
I'm saying back chat.
You're saying back chat. So use it in a sentence for me, Chrisita.
Don't give me the back chat in here.
Who are you talking to? Who you think you're talking to, Chrisita? Chrisita?
Hi.
If you were to use that in a sentence, who would you be speaking to?
My child.
Oh, really? Would you say that to your child indeed?
Yeah.
You have one of
Why
those
not?
back chatting.
We were told that when we were younger.
We were told it younger, but do you have to say it to your child indeed?
If he does something.
Oh, it's a boy.
It's a boy, yes.
How old is he?
He is 14.
Oh, he's big enough to give you some back chat. Christina, thank you so very much. Have a good morning, all right?
Thank you. You too.
You're welcome. Thank you. That's it, folks. We've had some fun with you, indeed, indeed. And no, that's the drill. Work it out, use it in a sentence. All right, we want to take your calls also to Thornwood. He's coming through the door. He's coming through the door, so build your excitement. Your calls to our fitness instructor, Thornwood, coming up after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So we're 9 minutes now to go to the hour of 8 o'clock. Time for us to take your calls with our fitness instructor. Remember, you can call us on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Thornwood, good morning to you.
Good morning, How you doing?
I'm doing well. How do you do, sir?
I am good, man. I had a real good weekend, as the honest to God truth.
Well, I'm
by the
glad
beach,
for you.
I act like a little tourist and thing, soaking a little sun rays.
That is good. That is good. So you got a little bit of a tan then in the sun.
No, sir. We don't tan in these parts. All
right, sir. Very good. Very good. Listen, the last time we were together, I said to you, we were talking about, getting the stomach down and working on a number of things. And I said, Thorn, sometimes we want to starve ourselves thinking that will help to reduce the weight and so forth. Wise decision or not?
I like to tell people when they ask me questions like that, or when they're referring to, I got to eat less food. When gas prices go up and stuff like that, you ever see people put, less gas in the car, or just rush to the gas station just before and putting more gas. Right? Your body's a machine, right? It requires food in order to function. And I keep telling people that, your focus, don't get so caught up in losing weight that you're willing to do almost anything. There are going to be tons and tons and tons of fad diets, because that's what they are. They are designed to make lots of money, sell in mass, so that you can tell yourself, oh, I'm going to be able to drop 30 pounds in like 2 weeks, 40 pounds in this amount of time, get my tummy flat and that kind of stuff. And that's why my main initial focus is to get people to, you need to love your body at every juncture of your fitness journey, 1. And 2, understand that weight loss is a byproduct of good programming and good training and focusing on a manageable diet. So something that you can do for a long time. You're not trying to do, oh, let's lose a ridiculous amount of weight in like 2 weeks. So no, I am definitely not a fan of the starving yourself route, because it's just not sustainable,
I mean, look at what you look like when you finish starving yourself. You probably look so terrible at the end of it all. So just be careful, because you can hurt yourself. There's a lot of danger in choosing to starve yourself as an avenue towards weight loss. That does not work. What works, you said, is to program your body in such a way that you do feel the benefits of weight loss, so to speak, because the waist gets a bit thinner, as we all want. I certainly want. The shoulders are a lot more rounded and the like. So that's what you're suggesting. That's where your job comes in as a fitness trainer. Folks, we want your calls. Don't waste the opportunity here now to talk directly with this man.
This is the first time in a long time when I get me sitting down. Like, we don't know if you can get it again.
No, he's standing over there.
But yes, most definitely, you want to focus on the training. You want to think about getting better at your training. Think about making your body feel better, moving better. Like I said before, most of the ranges that you go through in fitness, like your compound lifts, you do in everyday life. You bend over to pick up something, that's like a deadlift. You sit down in a chair, that's like a squat. You get out of your bed. Sometimes people roll over to push out of their bed. That's like a push-up or a bench press. So like, think about improving your overall quality of life, rather than I need to lose weight. It just forces people to do things that you want to do under normal circumstances, because you're so caught up with the like I said, the fads and what's on social media and who looks like this. I saw something this morning that really touched me, and it said, don't let someone's online like profile be your reality. And that's what's really happening. People are saying people do all these these teas, this vinegar this and drink this type teas kind of stuff, and does that help you to move better? Is my question. Does that help you to feel better? Yes, you can feel better over time. You might see a change on the scale. You might see your waist coming a bit slimmer, but then what next?
True, what next? And so what next is your calls, folks. 228-5562 or 228-5563. I can hear somebody already who is quite older saying to themselves, are you sure if I could do all of those kinds of things? My body aches, and therefore I'm not so sure if I can actually try these things you're talking about to increase my movement by bending forward, those kinds of things. What do you say to that individual?
There's a learning curve, for every type of movement, rather than being caught up and thinking about how hard it is initially. There is always a learning curve, and if you are seeing someone who is an active professional, they will be able to assess you and go, okay, well, maybe we can't do this. I always say that exercises are tools, and there's so many tools that you can use to get a desired result. If you can't do one exercise, more often than seldom there is a modification, or there is something else that you can do that will target what it is you need to do, right?
I got you. Yeah. There's some videos I think you brought along, I'm told.
Yes. We were going to show those another time, but we can show them this morning.
No, he has to be curious as to what it is that we were going to.
So I was going to talk about lifting for lifting's sake. This is just a video of a friend of mine, Courtney, who started doing some strength training very recently. We got go. This is the second video, actually. She's gonna get, seated in the bucket and drive.
Yeah, you see how the knees come over?
Yeah, driving straight up. So,
and as we say, pooch back. Yeah. Because you remember that's what you were telling the posture.
Yeah, you got
the posture.
Sit back.
Thank you.
Sit back.
Like a Bajan.
But yeah, lifting for lifting's sake. So she actually got a change, and she saw a change in like maybe 20 or 25 kilograms in a space of a week. Oh, nice. So I was trying to explain to her at that time that you need to not lift for lifting's sake. You need to understand what you're doing, where the weight is supposed to go, like the line that you're supposed to go, what muscles you're using, what are you engaging in order to see an improvement on your lift. So, or was going to talk about generally was saying, sometimes we go into the gym and we know, okay, well, we're gonna bench press, or we're gonna do curls, and you're not squeezing the muscle, you're not focusing on that neuromuscular connection. And I know that sounds like a big word, but it's just you understanding the muscles that you are using to get desired result, or the motion that you're trying to create.
It sounds so mental. It is. I'd wait till you're thinking all of that work just to get it done. I have to think it.
It is. See, and that's the thing about it. You should be willing to invest this time in your body because it's the only one that you have.
You ever have to.
You ever have. Like, you don't get second chances. So why not do the best that you can on this first one?
So when you go into the gym, just think very carefully of what it is that you're going to be seeking out. We have a call coming in. Let's take this call. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Yes. Go ahead.
According to what I've seen, because I know a person who has starved themselves to lose weight, not on purpose, but like they didn't realize that they were actually eating less until they started dropping a lot of weight.
Right.
So I was wondering, based on what I've seen, they tend to lose a lot of their actual muscle, become a lot weaker, and they seem to lose a lot of blood and iron.
And so what are you wondering?
I am wondering, can you actually die or end up in the hospital due to that?
All right.
Well, in an extreme case, again, I'm not a physician, I'm a personal trainer, but in an extreme case, yes, you can definitely die from starvation. What it sounds like your friend has experienced some measure of like atrophy, so that's like muscle deterioration and muscle loss. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of, well, unfortunately she didn't realize what she was doing, and I hope that she or he is doing much better in terms of their eating to get their strength back up. And this is what I keep talking about in terms of don't get so caught up with trying to lose weight that you end up doing these things that are more or less not good for your body, right? So had they been focusing on more of their training and that kind of stuff, or somebody who was able to tell them to make that change, then they would see something different. They'd be stronger, they'd be better for it, along with a diet that's way more manageable.
Right.
So I would say definitely yes, that does sound like some of the cases that we do come across in the gym sometimes. Sometimes people come to the gym and they would have been on a crazy diet, and they say if they've gotten weaker, the skin feels like saggier, they don't feel as strong, and sometimes that's just the case of it.
It's just downright dangerous to do. And that's what we're talking about. We got to leave it there. Thorn, thank you. Next week we're doing this again, Thorn.
Yeah, no problem.
Hint.
And you're going to do some
jumping
jacks.
Next week, folks, we're doing this again. Your calls indeed to Thornwood. Now, this is where we have to leave it, Thorn. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. My producer has been Nadia Foster today. Alicia Asgrand is on holiday. Technical directors have been Roel Ford and Samuel Mason. Sound, Christopher Blenman. Master control, our girl, Tamisha Green. I'm Pearson Boyne. For all of them, to each of you, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados, good morning. Good morning to you.